Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel Off the Underside. How we all doing? Tonight is the return of one of our very good friends who comes on as often as I can get him on. It's Mr. Dan Bateman. How you doing, big man? Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you, mate. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Definitely, mate. It's been a wee while since we've had a chat, so I'm looking forward to this, man. What have you been up to? Anything exciting?
Just busy with podcasts. I now do a National League podcast with some lads. We covered everything in the National League, non-league, my local team, Carlisle, and things like that. And then busy with my own as well, Be the Best Version of Yourself, where I talk about mental health, epilepsy, gambling addiction, all the stuff that I've spoken about before. Really busy with that at the moment. So yeah, just busy.
You're smashing it on the Football League one, mate. 1,000 subscribers, I seen.
Yeah, it's absolutely flying, mate. It's gone like so quickly. I only joined it in July, and since July we've gone from I think we had about 150 subscribers to over 1,000 in that space of time. Um, it's doing really well on TikTok and the short format and things as well. And you sometimes forget when you watch, Premier League and the higher up league, how many fans there actually is in non-league. There's some really big clubs in there. So I've got a lot of following from York City, Scunthorpe, obviously Carlisle, teams like that have always been in the EFL, now in non-league, but the fan base is still there.
Brilliant, mate. And obviously, as long as you're enjoying it, that's the main thing, isn't it?
I love it, mate. Honestly, the three lads, Louis, Craig, and Mark, that I do it with, we've all got our own knowledge. Mark's a little bit older than us, so he's got the history. Louis is the stat man; he knows his stuff. Craig does commentary on the zone for his team Braintree, and obviously I go to the Carlisle game. So we've all got like a bit of knowledge in and around the league. So I like to think we complement each other quite well.
Definitely, mate. And for anybody that hasn't watched it, what kind of format do you do, mate? You still getting your guests in that on?
We've had guests on. We've had managers from the league. So we had Robbie Savage on twice. We had John Coleman. Maybe people don't know he's at Aldershot now, but he was the manager at Accrington Stanley when they were flying through the leagues and got to League One. We've had him on. We're trying to get in the process of getting a couple of other managers on as well. We had Graham Coughlin that was at Boston. He's been sacked from Boston in recent weeks, but we had him on. It was really good. We've had players on from the league as well. We've had Max Jolliffe from Yeovil, Casey Petit from Rochdale, a lot of other players, Max Kretschmar, Jazz Singh, and in the process of currently trying to get more players on as well. So yeah, it's been incredible. Way better than I ever could have even dreamed of when I decided to do it back in the summer.
Excellent, man. It just shows you, obviously, like you've just mentioned there about, obviously you enjoy the Premier League and stuff, but not realising that there's you hear me all right there? We've got an echo there.
No, I'm all right, I think. Are you all right?
I just heard a wee echo in the background. I had my own voice. I was like, what's that? Obviously you say you enjoy the Premier League and stuff, but it just shows you there's like a wee market available for the lower league stuff, mate.
100%, mate. I started my own TikTok very recently, which is Dan Takes on Football, where I did start covering all football, but then I realised how much content I would have to create to do that. So I was like, right, I need to focus on something. So I thought, obviously, with doing the podcast, with doing other bits, I thought I'll focus on non-league. So I kind of go on there, give like 2-minute reviews of games, and give my views on results and things like that. And I think I've been doing that maybe like a month or two now. I'm on about just under 900 followers on there as well, so that's going quite well as well. But yeah, there's definitely a market for it. And me personally, I've always enjoyed non-league. It's definitely closer to the football that I grew up, probably you as well, Jamie, where you grew up watching. I think the Premier League's getting further and further away from a sport that I recognise these days.
Without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt, man. I mean, it definitely is. You don't see I mean, I go on about this all the time, you know what I mean, about how the league just isn't the same anymore. But we still love it, don't we? It's like a passion that will never go away. I mean, top flight Premier League football. I mean, it doesn't matter if it gets rubbish, mate. We'll still always follow it, won't we?
That's the thing. Like we all grew up watching it, watching the iconic players. So even now, I'll watch it now, and I'll probably be sat there for 85 of the 90 minutes going, if Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was up front for them, he'd have scored that. Or
Jimmy,
if Jermaine Defoe was up front, he'd have scored that, or something like that. I would be saying that to
yeah.
myself. But yeah, it'll always have the platform that it's got, and it's getting bigger and bigger. My opinion may have changed on it, but there's a lot of people that love it and enjoy it more now than ever. So each to their own.
Well, mate, since we're talking about that, let's talk about the Premier League. I mean, obviously, like now, we actually look as if we'll get a good title fight in our hands, man. What are you making of this season? And I think for a large part of the season, I thought Arsenal were going to run away with it, but it looks like they're maybe doing a wee Arsenal, mate, and their bottles crashing a wee bit, and Man City are coming back.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I said it. I think they were 9 points clear at one point, and I was like, the only team that'll stop Arsenal is Arsenal. Like their
Mm.
own mentality, and we've seen it over the years. I remember when I was a kid, my dad telling me it took United a couple of attempts before they got the first Premier League title. They bottled it the year before. I think Leeds won it before they won the first one. So
Yeah.
it does, once you get over that line. But for Arsenal, I do think Arsenal have the best team in the league on paper. When you look at it, I would even say the best squad for depth and everything. I think they've got two players for every position. But mentality wise, I'm not sure Arteta's the man in terms of winning the major trophies. I think he's too negative. They're going to have to go to the Etihad and win, or at least get a draw. But he'll probably go there and play for a draw, which just you can't do that when you're in a title race. And City, regardless of what we think of the off the field stuff and that, but they've got a record of winning trophies, record of winning big games, record of having like powerful run-ins where they go unbeaten for 13, 14, 15 games. I can genuinely see that happening again and City winning it, to be honest.
Me too, mate, me too. But you mentioned there about Arsenal having to go to the Etihad. Do you not think there's a wee part of him that might actually change because of what happened the last time? Because he's been in this position before.
I would like to think so. I would like to think that he's learned, but then you would like to think that they learned against Brentford and against Wolves, but they didn't. So the Brentford game. To be fair, the Brentford game was different because I think Brentford played very well and were on top in that game for certain parts of
Mm.
it. But the Wolves game, it was wrapped up and done. Like it was wrapped up and done, and they just threw it away. And I just think when you're challenging for titles against winners like Man City that win every year, give or take, but win every year. You've got to be winning and seeing them games out. That, like I say, for that Wolves game, I think if they don't win it, they'll look back at that game because it's now in City's hands as much as it's in Arsenal's hands. If City win every game from now to the end of the season, City win the title. Whereas it was never that before that game. It was always in Arsenal's hands. And it's still in Arsenal's hands as well, obviously, because they've got to play each other. But I think for me, they play each other in the League Cup final, don't they? I think middle of March, start of March. I think they play each other in that, so that could be a massive psychological battle there. Whoever wins that might get the edge and might go on and win the league. I remember years ago, United Chelsea were in the Champions League final, and they were battling each other on the final day for the Premier League. And I remember me and my dad talking about it, saying whoever wins the league will win the Champions League. United won the league, and United won the Champions League, and it is a mentality thing, I think.
Oh, definitely gives you that wee kind of. If you go and win the league, you know what I mean. It gives you that wee kind of boost to go and win the Champions League. But I mean, what does your gut tell you what's going to happen at the end of the season? Do you think that Arsenal will get that bit of steel, or do you think that Man City will just tip it?
My gut tells me City win it. Uh, Again, I just think, like I've said, they've proven it. There's no evidence to suggest that Arsenal are going to get that steal from somewhere. We haven't seen it, especially in recent weeks. We've seen the opposite of that. We've seen them falter. We've seen them make mistakes. I know they won at Spurs at the weekend, but Spurs are in a really bad place.
We'll
I
talk
know
about
they're the
them, mate. I want to
local.
talk about them.
Yeah, I know they're the local rivals and stuff, but if they didn't go there and put 3 or 4 on them, that wouldn't have been a good result, in my opinion, for them. So they kind of just done what they had to do. Like I say, there'll be tougher tests to come for Arsenal. There'll be tougher tests to come for City as well. But I think if it comes down to it, and you have to say, right, if you had to, if you had a gun to your head, who do you think's going to win it? I'd say City every time.
I'd be saying City as well if I gun was to my head, mate. 100%. Since we mentioned Tottenham, there, mate, let's talk about them. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Ange on the overlap with Gary Neville and stuff, and he was basically saying Tottenham claim they're a big club, but they don't act like a big club. I mean, that is just so obvious to me now. I mean, I said when Thomas Frank was appointed the manager, I think it's a bad decision. I think he done a really good job at Brentford, mate. I don't take anything away from him, but it was just too big a step up to go to Tottenham, and you're expected to win games there, and try and compete for Europe and stuff like that. But it was too much of a challenge. He didn't really. He did get back to, I think, didn't he? He had the players in there. You've got Simons and the boy. Is it what's the French? Is it the French guy that's up front for them? Can't remember his
Colomboani.
Muani. And so he was back with several players, to be honest with you. But obviously they've got rid of Thomas Frank. The results weren't good enough, and mate, I've done a video about it. Igor Tudor, for me, is just a ridiculous appointment, man. The guy, he did okay when he was at Marseille, but he never won anything. He never competed for the league. He never challenged. He did okay. Where else he's been, mate, he's not been a good manager. He's been too hot-headed on the touchline and stuff. I don't know what you think, Dan, but I think that's a really bad appointment, and I can honestly see Tottenham going down, mate. I really can.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, mate. I think Tudor as the interim manager at the end of the season, if you're going to do interim, do it the Man United way. Get someone who gets the club and has maybe played for them or managed
Yeah.
in the past. Like I joked about it at the time, but I said, why not get Harry Redknapp till the end of the season? He's probably been their best manager in recent, apart from maybe Pochettino, probably their best manager in the last 20, 30 years. I think somebody like that with a bit of experience, a bit of know-how about the club, respect as well. Because I don't know if you've seen the video of Van der Ven at the weekend when
Yeah.
Tudor was shouting at him saying to push up, and he just ignored him, and he was the captain for the day.
Yeah.
That tells you everything you need to know. I just think for Spurs, they've got all these injuries, and yes, it's an excuse, but they had all these injuries last season as well. So the injuries are an excuse, but why are the injuries happening? They can't keep happening. Like you have to sack someone in the medical department. You have to stop signing injury-prone players. You have to act on it somehow. I just can't quite work it out. But this might upset a few people. But I've never quite got Spurs being a big club. Maybe because I'm from the north, I don't get it. But to be a big club, you've got to have certain aspects. And to me, I know they won the Europa League last season, but they were up against the worst Man United team we've ever seen. For me, I just think there's other teams in this country that, in my opinion, on reputation, that are bigger than Spurs that don't get classed in that conversation. I would have Aston Villa above Spurs if we were talking a big six. For me personally, I think what Andrew was saying on the podcast, it was all spot on. They think they're a big club. They've got the stadium to back it up. But in terms of expectations, and trying to sign players, it just shows you I can't remember who the player was now. They were trying to sign someone. Was it Mbuemo? It was in the summer, Mbuemo, and he wanted to go to United instead. Even though Spurs had Champions League football, they've got all this fancy new stadium, and he's like, "Nah, I want United." And I'm like, that tells you a story in itself. If Spurs were truly one of the big six and they had Champions League football over Man United, you would go to Spurs. And that's my argument with it. I just think they can't attract the big players. They can't attract the managers. Like I said, Thomas Frank, he was never the man. He never was. Brentford, much respect to them. I think I spoke about them last time on here. They're a well-run club. They're a fantastic football club, but they are an EFL club at heart. Like Carlisle played them in League One for years. We beat them at Wembley in 2011. I think it was the LDV Vans Trophy at the time. So that is the Brentford I know. So they're punching well above the weight. So the expectation of Brentford was never going to be, we need to win every week. We need to be challenging for Europe. But Spurs, they want to challenge for Europe, and you can't be. I think they've only won. Is it 2 games at home all season? It's just it's just not good enough. Even like I said, for Spurs' reputation, I don't think they are classed as a Big Six club. But if you do class them as that, 2 wins at home all season, sackable on its own.
Definitely. I think the only reason they are kind of maybe considered a big club is because, obviously, as you mentioned, the stadium, and it's probably the best stadium. I don't know. I've never been there, but looking on this TV and stuff, it's going to be one of the best stadiums in the country.
It looks incredible. I think it probably is the best in the country. I think it probably is.
And also, I know you're saying they can't attract the big names. Definitely agree with that, but they can go out and spend 20, 30, 40 million on players and stuff. So, and they have done that in the past. So that's probably why people say, oh, they're a big club. But I agree with you, mate. Aston Villa are a bigger club. Nottingham Forest are a bigger club. Obviously, Man United, Liverpool, Man City, probably.
Mm.
Probably,
I
mate.
mean, on recent success, definitely
Uh, uh,
Chelsea, Arsenal.
mhm,
There's a host of clubs. I would even argue
mhm,
Leeds potentially.
mhm, mhm,
Newcastle again, maybe because I'm from the north, I'm a little bit biased. Newcastle and Sunderland, both big
mhm.
clubs. But like I say, for me with Spurs, I just think they are in serious danger this season of going down because West Ham are picking up results. Forest are picking up results. They were very unlucky against Liverpool at the weekend. Forest. Spurs don't look like they can buy a win. Never mind anything else. I don't know what happens. They're going to have to flick a switch somewhere, or a lot of the injured players are going to have to come back, and something's going to have to click. But for me, if again, if there was a gun to my head, someone said, "Who do you think's going to go down with Burnley and Wolves?" I'd probably say Spurs.
Me too, mate. And the thing is, it's like you mentioned Igor Tudor when he was speaking to Van der Veen at the weekend there. Also after the game, and he was basically saying, Arsenal the best team in the world, probably in Europe right now, maybe even the world and stuff. And, we didn't really need that game. And I was like, that's your rivals, mate. Why are you coming out and saying that after the game, after getting battered at home, after your closest rivals and going, that's just defeatist attitude straight away, mate. When I seen that, I was like, that's alarm bells. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
it's a mentality thing, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
but it reminded me a lot of the David Moyes at Man United when they got beat 3-0 at home off City, and he come out and he was like, "We aspire to be as good as them," right? And I'm like, you can think that in your head, like as in like, I wish we were as good as they were, but as a Man United manager, you can't come out and say after you've just been malleted at home by your local rivals, say, "Oh, I wish we were as good as them." You just can't just say them things.
No. And because that filters down to players and fans and everybody, and even if you don't mean it, just come out and say we shouldn't be getting beat 4-1 at home off Arsenal. That's not good enough. I don't care what players they've got. I don't care what position we're in. I mean, because you look at the Spurs squad, mate, and obviously we did talk about how they've got injuries and that, but they've still got players on that park that could have hurt Arsenal, and they scored one goal and took it to one each, and you're thinking maybe this will be a game and stuff, but no, I mean they've still got players there, mate, that should be competing better than that, and he's coming out and saying that. To me, that's if I was a Spurs fan, I would be seriously worried, man. Seriously worried.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially the starting 11, they're good enough to not go down.
Yep.
Like when I watched that on Sunday, Xavi Simmons has got a bit about him. I do think he's a bit weak on the ball sometimes. He gets shrugged off a little bit too easy, but in general, he looks like he's got something. Moani looks like he's got something. I'm not a big fan of Conor Gallagher. I'm not sure he was the answer when they signed him in January. I thought the one position on the pitch they didn't need to strengthen was probably centre mid, and they went and signed one, and I didn't quite understand why when they
Mm.
had all these injuries at the back and things. Van der Ven, I think, on his day is a good centre half, but I think he's probably mentally checked out and potentially looking for a move, and maybe that's why he wasn't listening to the manager.
hmm I'm just looking at the team here. I mean, Basuma, Saar, internationals. These guys, you see Gallagher, Dragusin, Van der Veen, Paulinho, mate. These guys all play for their country. Siemens, Richarlison came on, Matthias Tell came on, Solanke came on. That's all teams that they should be nowhere near the relegation. So nowhere near it.
No, I agree, mate. I agree. I think some of them players as well. Tell came on, and I noticed that he just wasn't bothered when he came on. I was watching him because United nearly signed him. It was between United and Spurs, I think, last January, and he went to Spurs because I think United wanted a loan and he wanted a permanent move,
Yeah.
something along them lines. And he come on and he was just strolling over to take a throw in at 3-1 down, and and you just like just strolling over, and I'm like, is there no urgency? No, it just didn't look bothered. But yeah, that team for me, a lot of them getting other teams that are higher up in the league. Like Basuma, I know he hasn't been great as of late, but at one point he was being tipped to go to one of the big clubs and playing centre mid for a Liverpool or something like that, or a Chelsea. And I just think you look and you go, how could it all go so wrong so quickly? And like I said, Ange got the blame last season. Thomas Franks had a lot of the blame this season. But there's something seriously wrong with that football club. I'm not in with it enough to know what it is, but recruitment's bad, the injuries are bad. Results obviously are bad. I just don't quite know where they go from here. Maybe a relegation wouldn't be too bad for them, and they could maybe have a bit of a clear out, and I'm sure
Wow.
they would come straight back up. Um, but yeah, maybe that might be the solution.
As much as we're saying they're not a big club, mate, it would be a massive shock for them to get relegated, wouldn't it, man?
Yeah, a bit. I'd be up there with one of the biggest ones. I would probably go back to the West Ham one when West Ham went down in 2003. They had Michael Carrick, Joe Cole, Paulo Di Canio, Jermaine Defoe, and they went down on the final day. I remember, and everyone was like,
Mhm.
"Wow, how have they gone down?"
Just shows you.
And the same with was it Newcastle in like 20, was it
Yeah,
2009,
yeah,
2010,
yeah.
when
Mm.
Alan Shearer was the caretaker manager and he tried to keep them up, but they went down. They had like Alan Smith, Damien Duff,
Michael Owen.
Obafemi Martins, people like that. And it's like, yeah, for me, I think they are too good to go down on paper, but what I'm seeing with my eyes tells me that they're going to really struggle.
100%, mate. It is, aye. I mean, last thing on Spurs, but you mentioned earlier on about they should have got somebody in who knows the club, and that totally agree. I mean, Harry Redknapp wouldn't have been a ridiculous appointment in my opinion. I know he's been out the game a long time and stuff, but that makes total sense to me. But for he got $2 was madness. I would have personally went. I mean, for I know it's got to sound mad, right? But these guys have proven that they can do it. Guys like um, John Dyche, Sam Allardyce, these kind of guys. I know that, oh, how can you say that? But these guys, right now, for Tottenham, the main thing is they need to stay up. You know what I mean? And forget about, oh, they might not be the sexiest manager in the world and stuff, but, it's vital they stay up in that. And going for Igor Tudor, man, is just, I think that's the nail in the coffin, man. I really do.
I just can't quite get my head around how he became the ideal appointment. I just can't quite get it. Like,
I know.
you've named a few there that have got experience in keeping teams in the league. Go for any of them. There's other ones as well that you could go for, like former players. I'm sure someone would come in and try and help out. Like, I know it might not work. Like I know we said about Sheep, just to kind of get the feel good factor going. Get the fans back behind the team and stuff. Because I really felt sorry for the fans on Sunday because the place was rocking. The atmosphere was proper big match feel before the game, and then Arsenal score early on, kind of kills the atmosphere. I know Spurs equalised, but then it was from like a mistake, and they didn't really create a great deal. There was that one great Raya save that he made, it was on the line, but in general, they didn't really create a lot, so there wasn't a lot for the fans to get behind, and Arsenal were comfortable for the majority of it. And I feel like fans have tried their best to get behind something that they probably think Tudor's not the right answer. They're probably thinking we are going to go down, but they've got themselves up for it. They've got themselves behind the team, even though they probably know they're going to get beat. And then they've watched that and thought, yeah, we are going down. And then I do worry how the fans just can continue to, stay positive when they're seeing performances like that every week.
I know, and I did see when Tottenham announced it on X, I was looking at a lot of the comments, mate, and a lot of them were positive for Spurs fans, like, oh, I've got a lot of confidence in this guy and a lot of faith in this guy, and I was really shocked. But anyway, mate, that's enough about Tottenham. Let's talk about a big club, Manchester United, mate.
Mm.
I've no spoke to you since Amaron has left the building and Michael Carrick has come in. What an impact he's made, eh?
I mean, we've been here before, mate, haven't we? This is the thing. I defended Amorim for a long time. I feel like there's a lot of grey areas with Man United and Amorim where I think he did address a lot of issues. There was a lot of changing room issues. He did get rid of some problems in Garnacho, Anthony, Rashford, Anana. There was a few problems that he did address and get rid of, but the results on the pitch just weren't good enough, and you can't allow that to continue. So as much as he done good, maybe in the dressing room and trying to set standards and get rid of problem players and things like that, the results just simply weren't good enough. And the only way was up when Carrick came in. But even I didn't think in my most positive of dreams that it would have started as well as it did.
What do you think the main difference is that Carrick has made since he's come in?
I think he's gave them more freedom. I think the players are playing a bit more. I mean, it's hard because United struggle against low blocks, hence the West Ham result, hence the Everton performance. But against the Cities, the Arsenals, the bigger teams, it's more freedom of expression. So Cunha can go out there and do his thing. Bruno Fernandes can drop into the 10 now and play where he's meant to play and start flicking passes in between the lines, try to find players. And I think that's the key thing, because when they were playing that 3-4-3, you could tell they were all frightened stiff to move out of position. The centre halves were just not doing anything other than just passing the ball to each other. And then the substitutions that Amorim used to do, where he'd sub one of the centre backs every time, I just didn't get that. But Bruno Fernandes, in my opinion, is the best number 10 in the league. And yet Amorim had got it in his head to play him in centre midfield next to Casemiro. I'm like, what are you like? You're moving your best player out of position, and it didn't make sense. And like I say, for me now, Carrick's, I think, probably got everybody, give or take, but everybody pretty much in their preferred positions, and he's reaping the benefits.
There's a good comment just come in about you're saying he's injected the United DNA back into the team, and the fans love him. Aye,
Yeah,
that's
he's,
a
he's
very
in
good
a
point.
he's in a win-win situation, Carrick. I mean, obviously, I said this before he managed the first game, but we all loved him as a player. So even if he didn't do great, it's not really going to tarnish his legacy in that aspect. So he had a free hit, really. He couldn't have done much worse than Amorim did either. So he kind of had a free hit. But like I said, the City game, it was 2-0, but it could have been 5 or 6. Like, the City game was unbelievable. The Arsenal game was, again, unbelievable. The West Ham and Everton games have been a bit more realistic, I would say, of where we're at. West Ham were probably lucky to nick a point late on. Everton on Monday night, it wasn't the best game of football. Both sides couldn't really string two passes together, but they found a way to win with a counter-attacking goal, which goes back to the United DNA. That counter-attacking goal for Sesko on Monday night was something that you would have seen Rooney and Ronaldo score back in the day.
It was very like that one. Actually, I was thinking. It's funny you say that. I was thinking that when I seen that goal. I was like,
Yeah,
that reminds me of Ronaldo passing into Rooney and finishing in the bottom corner like that.
yeah, definitely.
It just shows you, but doesn't it? You know, we talk about football pet hates and stuff. That is one of my pet hates about no playing players in the correct position. You know what I mean? As you say, there is nobody better as a number 10 in the Premier League. I can't even think of anybody who would come close. Would we consider Cole Palmer a number 10? Maybe, but I
Yeah,
mean,
I probably would,
mm,
but the different players, aren't they? I think
mm,
different types of players, but I would class him as a 10. And if Palmer's firing and scoring, then you could argue his case, I think. But in terms of what we would class as a number 10, I think I'm a bit more old-fashioned. Number 10 to me is someone who just creates. He might pop up with goals here and there, but in general, he creates, and I don't think there's anyone better than Bruno. De Bruyne is probably the best number 10 the Prem's had, I would say.
right, we'll
Uh,
get to your Premier League 11. Don't get away too soon.
no, don't worry, he's not in.
Oh, really? Wow. I've got mine as well, by the way. I'll once we're doing this, I'll tell you mine as well, all right? Aye, but on United, last thing, mate, on that. So, how do you think the future's going to go? Do you think that, what, in fact, here's a question for you. What would it take Michael Carrick to get the job full time?
To get the job full time, I think the problem is because of Solskjaer. So if he does well, everyone will still just say, "Oh, it's just Solskjaer all over again." Whereas reality, we don't know. You don't know unless you give him it. So for me, if United finish top three, which is possible, we're only 3 points off third at the moment. Villa seem to be slipping up. If United finish third and we have a good finish to the season, I would seriously consider him. I'm not saying I would just hand it to him like they did with Solskjaer that time, where they just decided, right, he's having it. They're not. I would still interview other people, but the problem is now, I think, in terms of managers available, how many want to take it? The United job these days. That's the problem. It's not like the old days where you could just say the United job is available and everybody's like, yeah, I want it. Now it seems it's a bit of a funeral home for managers. Like Amorim came in as the cool hipster coach that everyone thought was the next big thing, and he's been chewed up and spat back out. So who knows?
I think if he finishes top four, mate, it's a no-brainer. You've got to give him the job. I really do. I mean, considering where Man United were, I bet you under Amarin you didn't think it was even possible to even consider it getting the Champions League spots.
No, to be honest, when Amorim was in charge, I think we were about sixth. And I remember saying to my dad at the time, I was like, even if we just get Europa League and something, and we both just looked at each other and went, oh, God, that's how far we've fallen. We're just like, if we can scrape seventh, I'll be happy. So, something like that. But yeah, I think we're going to have European football, I think, next season. I think it's safe to say that at the moment. Like, depends obviously whether it's going to be Champions League, Europa League, because it's quite tight, between Chelsea, Liverpool, United. But in terms of European football, is massive considering they haven't had it this year. But
Yeah.
Champions League is imperative, I think, especially from the position they're in at the moment. If Carrick can get them Champions League football, I'd definitely give him a go. Like I say, who else is there available, really? I know people there was talk of Ancelotti, Tuchel, people like that. I don't see any of them wanting to take the United job, especially people like Ancelotti who have been around for a long time, that have seen what's gone on at United. Why would he, in his right mind, be looking, going, "Oh yeah, I want a piece of that"? Because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't know. I think for me, I would still interview, see who else is around. But yeah, if they get top four, especially third place, I would say, because it means we're obviously better than Liverpool, Chelsea. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't give him the job.
Definitely agree, mate. Darshan's in the comment. How you doing, mate? Man, Carrick was the manager with 0 losses, LOL, when he was intern. So, I mean, obviously, if he does get 0 losses, that would be incredible. But, I mean, I've got a question for you, Dan. This will be a tricky one. I'm interested to see your answer to this one. If Michael Carrick, Manchester United, finish 5th or 6th, would you take Michael Carrick into the season, or would you take Gareth Southgate?
I would take Amorim again over Gareth Southgate.
No one him then.
No, again, I appreciate everything Southgate did with England, but I was bored to death watching Van Gaal at Man United playing backwards, sideways passes. I do not want to see that again. For me, I mean, yeah, experiments as well. Yeah, I agree with that on the comments. I think that they need to really do the dot the I's, cross the T's with the interview process. They went for Amorim. They forced him to come early because he wanted to come at the end of the season. They got him to cut. He was like here now or never. Came in the November, didn't have a pre-season, didn't have a transfer window, and kind of just got left to hang out and dry. And I think they do need to take into account for what formation they play, how many players they're going to need. It sounds like I'm stating the obvious, but given the way Man United have been run in recent years, I think it's a fair comment. I think they just need to be sure that the manager they get is the right guy and they can back him as well. The amount of times they've brought managers in. I remember Mourinho famously saying in his press conference that he wanted Toby Alderweireld, and they went out and signed him Fred. I was like, what chance have you got? What chance have you got? It's like it's not even the same position. Never mind profile of players, just different positions. And that's what United have done again. They've went out and signed wing backs. They've signed like attacking midfielders or tens, if you like, to fit Amorim's system. And now we've got no wingers other than Ahmad to play 4-3-3. So it's like if you're going to do 4-3-3, they're probably going to have to go out in the summer and sign wingers again because they've got rid of Garnacho, Anthony, Rashford. Again, I mean, Garnacho can, but Anthony and Rashford are only on loan, so who knows? They could come back as well. That's another reason I don't want Southgate, because I probably think he'd bring Rashford back.
Nah, I agree, mate. I mean, Southgate done a decent enough job at England. Again, I think if you're a team like Man United, mate, and we talk about this all the time. I've said this to you before that when you're a top club, you need winners. I mean, I think Michael Carrick deserves a shot at if they get top four, and that's me contradicting myself. But he's done something to merit that. I don't think Gareth Southgate has done enough to merit getting the Manchester United job. But
no, I agree. And you look at Southgate at club level when he did manage, he got relegated with Middlesbrough. He fell into a perfect job at England where that old group that we used to have, the golden generation, where it was all split and divided between United, Liverpool, Chelsea players, and they were all separate. That environment was created where all the players got on. They were all happy. I remember, I think it was the Euros in 2020 where you seen them, Jordan Pickford in a swimming pool with a unicorn dinghy throwing balls at Declan Rice and people like that. It's like all having a good time and stuff. And I think if you come into United, he'd want to recreate that, the good vibes and all that. And it's like we had that with Solskjaer, and then that was when you ended up with players turning up late for training, i.e. Sancho, people going out on the drink instead of turning up for training, i.e. Rashford. And I just think you need some standards. I'm not saying it has to be like the Fergie days where strict as anything, you can't do this, can't do that, but you've got to have certain levels where you're like, right, you can't be doing that, you can't be doing that. And I just think if it got back to good vibes and everyone getting along and everyone being everyone's best pal, I think it could be a dangerous road.
Totally agree, mate. Totally agree. But before we go to your team, mate, obviously we think Man City's going to win the league. We think that obviously Wolves, Burnley, and Spurs are going down. Is that right?
Yeah.
And who's going to finish third and fourth there?
I'm going to go on a limb and say United finished third, Liverpool finished fourth.
Wow.
I think Chelsea again. We didn't talk about Chelsea, but Rafinha, wrong appointment again. Don't get that at all. Don't get it at all. So I think that they will drop off. I think Villa have shown signs of dropping off, but they haven't got the squad depth that the other teams in and around them have. So I think they might finish fifth. But yeah, Liverpool seem to have turned a little bit of a corner, I would say, and they are grinding out results like they did at Forest at the weekend. I think they'll get top four. So United third, Liverpool fourth, I would say.
There we go. I'll go for. Do I think Villa can have got enough to stay in this? I don't know, man. I don't know. It is tough. They've got Europa League to deal with as well, aren't they, Villa?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, like that's why even if I was neutral, I'd fancy United to finish third just because they haven't got any other distractions. They're out of all the cups.
I fancy United definitely top four. Do you know what, mate? I'm probably going to agree with you. I think that Chelsea have made a bad appointment in the boy. I mean, good luck to him and stuff, but again, he never really done anything to merit that job, to be honest. I mean, too big a job with all that kind of money and all the players and stuff. No, I'm going with you, mate. I'm going Man United, Liverpool. And people might say, "Oh, you're copying." That's what I think. So that's our team.
We're allowed to agree. I'm sure we're going to disagree. I'm sure we're going to disagree on a few on the next bit.
Oh, I think we will, mate. I think we will. But let's get to this, mate. This is exciting. Now, first of all, right, it's Dan's Premier League 11 of his era in his lifetime, which is basically all the Premier League, isn't it? Let's be honest, we know practically every other league, every season.
Yeah. I'd like to say I'm too young to remember it, but I'm not.
There's maybe the first few, mate, that we've kind of missed it on, but I mean, the majority of the Premier League we've both been.
Yeah, the first season I remember watching was 94, 95, so I only missed a couple.
Aye, same here. Right, so first question is, what's your formation?
I've gone 4-3-3, but we'll use the three loosely up front, as in two of them could alternate and drop back and do a few other bits. I'm trying to squeeze as many quality players in as I can.
Now here's another question for you. Your 11, is it who you believe the top 11 players have been, like, while they've played in the Premier League? Or is it the players who, like, for instance, let's say Ronaldo, I don't know if he's in your team or no, right? But Ronaldo, would you say, like, you know, he was his best in the Premier League? I would say that was in La Liga sort of thing, if you know what I mean.
I mean, for me, he obviously won a Ballon d'Or when he was at United, but his peak was at Madrid. So yeah, so for me, it's just who was the best in that position while they were in the Premier League. I'm not, because again, you could have like people like Luka Modric and people like, you know, he's won a Ballon d'Or. But when he was at Spurs, he was good, but he wasn't, you know, out of this world or anything like that.
Aye, I mean, some people could even say like Ibrahimovic, for instance, but he was only at Man United for like, you know, a couple of years, and he, you know, I think he won an FA Cup, didn't he, and stuff. But I mean, yeah, you know, he's no in it. But anyway, your goalkeeper, mate. Who's your goalkeeper?
Well, this was an interesting one because they talked about this on Monday Night Football, didn't they? I don't know if you've seen it, and they were ranking.
I've not seen it. I seen Dave Jones, is it the boy that does the he was talking about it on TikTok, but I've not actually seen Carragher. I think Carragher said Peter Cech, didn't he?
Yeah, Carragher said Petr Cech. Gary Neville went with mine, which is Schmeichel for me. Best keeper I've ever seen. He was pulling off saves that blew my mind as a kid. And don't get me wrong, Petr Cech, absolutely outstanding. He's a very close second. But Schmeichel for me.
I'm the same, mate. Peter Schmeichel for me. I mean, as we've spoken about before, Dan, on the podcast, I was a big Man United fan in the 90s and stuff, and Peter Schmeichel was, by far the best goalkeeper at that point, and I don't think he's been topped, mate. I agree that Peter Cech is close. Peter Cech, I better give him a bit of respect on his name here. Apart from that, maybe Van der Sar, kind of guys like that, Pepe Reina, but again, none of them came close to Schmeichel, eh?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one keeper I always rated, but again, he's never in the conversation because of the teams he played for. But I always liked Brad Friedel.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was an outstanding goalkeeper, but because he played for Blackburn,
Yeah.
Spurs, he was never in that elite conversation. I would always argue a case for De Gea as well. I know he dropped off the last few years, but there was United's drop off would have been a lot quicker and a lot more rapid if it wasn't for David De Gea at one point. So I would always put him in there. I remember there was a guy on Arsenal Fan TV said that De Gea would save the Titanic. He wasn't far wrong at one point. He was saving everything. But yeah, for me, Schmeichel and Czech are clear of everybody else, and then it's probably
Agreed.
down to preference after that.
Agreed, mate. Now, right back is a debatable one. Again, I think it's between two. I could be wrong, but who's your right back?
This might surprise a few. I've gone for Kyle Walker. Gary Neville,
Not I'm surprised.
really good right back for me. But I think Kyle Walker in that City team is still going now as well. You think Neville's legs went, didn't he? Remember that West Brom game when he got took off and he retired and stuff like that? Kyle Walker's still playing now. I know he's playing for Burnley, but he's still playing in the Premier League now. So the longevity comes into it as well. Trophies won. Yeah, Kyle Walker for me.
Fair enough, mate. I'm going Gary Neville. I think when it comes to right backs, mate, I think Kyle Walker was obviously better going forward than Gary Neville was. But if I'm a right back, mate, and maybe I'm just being a wee bit defensive here, but I want my right back to be a better at defending than he is going forward. And Gary Neville for me was a better defender than Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker could be a wee bit lapse at times, I thought. But I mean, I agree. It's between they two. I mean, by a distance again. Couldn't really think of anybody else who kind of comes close, to be honest with you, mate. I mean, I was racking my brain earlier on to think of a right back that comes.
I did have one other that I thought, but then he didn't do it for long
Mm,
enough. But I thought Ivanovic at Chelsea was quality for a long
mm,
time.
mm,
But again, I don't think he's in the bracket of Walker and Neville. But
no,
if you just wanted an alternative option, maybe
mm,
Ivanovic at Chelsea was good.
aye,
But other than that, I couldn't think of anybody else either.
aye. I rated Ivanovic very highly, but I think he played quite centre half quite a lot as well, though, didn't he, Ivanovic
Yeah.
at times and stuff. So, aye, mate. Well, let's go into your first centre half.
These were probably the easiest positions that I've picked. I think for me personally, my first one was Rio Ferdinand. I think he's the best or joint best centre back that's ever played in the Premier League. In my era, the best England centre back as well, potentially. So Rio Ferdinand's my first one.
Fair enough, mate. You might follow me with this one. Might be the first big disagreement we have. I don't. Ferdinand's known any of my two, mate. I'm a big fan of Rio Ferdinand. I thought he was excellent. I did think he was a wee bit. Don't know. I don't think he'd read the game as well as the two that I've got, mate. But that's just my opinion. The first one is
Yeah,
John Terry. John Terry, mate, is easily for me. Uh, I think that he'll probably be your other one as well, mate. If I'm guessing a wee bit early here, but I think that he's by distance the best Premier League centre half there's been, mate. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the debate last week with Jermaine Pennant and Jamie O'Hara. I mean, it's just mental to me, absolutely mental. And this is coming from a Celtic fan who's seen Virgil van Dijk up close for years and years and years. And then I watched him down at Southampton. I've watched his career closely. I watch every game that I can see on the TV of him. Virgil van Dijk is nowhere near the level of John Terry. And it's nothing to do with stats and stuff like that. That's the thing that annoys me a wee bit, Dan, is when people going about stats. Stats don't tell the full picture. Do you know what I mean? It's sometimes you just need to look at the player and what kind of player they were and stuff like that with your own two eyes. And for me, John Terry is head and shoulders above everybody.
yeah, I agree. John Terry and Rio, they're my two. Can't split them for me. Both of them. Imagine them playing together. Obviously, for England, they both complement each other. My argument, just going back to Ferdinand for a moment, is that everyone raves about Van Dijk and people like that. Rio Ferdinand was doing that before it was cool. The playing out from
Mm,
the back, the Rolls Royce type thing. Ferdinand was like the first one to really do it in England. So for me, that's why he's in. And John Terry, everything you said is bang on. Leader, scored goals as well. You know, put his head where people wouldn't even put their foot. Yeah, can't say enough good things about him as a defender. As a person, I'm not so sure, but as a player,
Definitely. My next one might be a wee bit of a surprise, mate, to people, but I'm actually going to go for Tony Adams. I thought Tony Adams was like utterly phenomenal. I remember growing up watching him, mate, and I thought he was the first kind of player I remember watching who like commanded the backline. You know what I mean? And like I say, I think that you mentioned that John Terry was a leader as well. Tony Adams, man, was a big leader for in that Arsenal team. You know, getting pressing them forward and stuff like that. And then when you had all these amazing French players running about him, Tony Adams always stood out for me for being like the leader at the back and could control the back line. And I loved him, mate. So Tony Adams is in there for me.
yeah, I agree. Tony Adams is one of the best as well. Totally agree.
Left back.
This one again. If I had my Man United hat on, I really wanted to put Dennis Irwin in because I think he's so underrated. But I can't look past Ashley Cole. Probably England's, well, no, not even probably England's best ever left back. I would say. Quality at Arsenal, quality at Chelsea, won trophies, quality for England. Yeah, can't say enough good things about him.
Same here, mate. That's an easy one, isn't it? Left back, easy one. Ashley Cole, by far the best left back that I've seen in the Premier League. Maybe know the world. Roberto Carlos is probably better, but for me, Ashley Cole is, you know, there's nobody even close. Dennis Irwin was a fantastic football player. You know, you've got Patrice Evra came to mind. Apart from that, mate, there's nobody really close again, to be honest, to Ashley Cole.
Yeah, I think we said about the right backs, and there was like two on their own, and then there was maybe a couple of others. I think there's Ashley Cole, and then there's a group that you could probably pick from underneath that. But Ashley Cole's so far ahead; it's got to be him, hasn't it?
For some reason, I keep thinking it's just like it's Man United players that keep coming to mind though when I think about it. Like, you know, like I say, Evra and Heinze was a really good player. Dennis Irwin. I can't really think of anybody outside of that. I mean, nah, to be honest, no. But let's go into your midfield, mate. Where do you want to start? You start this one.
Right. Okay. Midfield. I'll start with my holding midfielder, my captain, my legend, my hero, Roy Keane. I don't have to say much more, but you talked about Tony Adams being a leader. If I was going into a war or a fight or a battle, the first Premier League player I'd be taking with me is Roy Keane. But it's not just that, like especially early Roy Keane before his bad injury. He was box to box. He scored big goals, big important goals. There was more to him than just kicking people and being a leader. He was a proper footballer as well. Scored some huge goals for United. So Roy Keane for me.
Okay, mate. My middle of the park, I'm going to go for Paul Scholes. Box to box midfielder, as you say, mate. I mean, even towards the end of his career, he was really versatile. Obviously came a bit deeper in there towards the end of his career, but you know that peak Paul Scholes era, you know, like 90, but we're talking 96 to about 2001, 2002 was just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable football player. I don't think I've seen a better midfielder in my life, to be honest, mate. I mean, maybe Zidane. Maybe it's probably Zidane, actually. But, I mean, Paul Scholes is very close to that for me.
Yeah, I mean, you've took my next one off me. Scholes in there as well. And again, everything you said, but then you think even like later in his career, he knew he didn't have the legs to get back and forth. So he would just sit and dictate the play. Everything that we applaud players like Pirlo, people like that for, Scholes was doing. And he was underappreciated at international level as well. But yeah, like I say, that peak era of Scholes, 35-yard volleys in the top corner, the ones at Bradford away from the corner, the Villa one when it bounces and he volleys it in off the bar, and Ronaldo, who bear in mind this is Cristiano Ronaldo, is stood there with his hands on his head like that, like how have you just done that? Things like that. I think a lot gets made of it because I think a lot of people think now people are trying to push a narrative that Scholes is better than he was, but I just think it's because Scholes was so underappreciated at the time. If Scholes was playing now, he'd be one of the best midfielders in the world. But football's different now. If you're playing three in the midfield, whereas it was two at the time more than anything. So when he was at England, he was getting shoehorned onto the left wing, wasn't he, at one point and stuff like that. But Scholes is my second one.
My second one is Kevin De Bruyne. I'm putting him just ahead of Paul Scholes. I mean, I think that De Bruyne was absolutely phenomenal for Man City for a number of years. He was obviously one of the main reasons why they won title after title after title, mate. Obviously, his creativity was amazing. He scored a brilliant goals and just technically fantastic, mate. And he's probably one of the best players I've seen in recent years. Do you know what I mean? So I had to put Kevin De Bruyne in there.
Yeah, to be honest, in the modern era, I don't think there's anyone better than De Bruyne. I'm going more for, I don't know, because I've got Keane and Scholes. I feel like I need goals. So I was trying to think of who's the best goal scoring midfielder I could think of,
Mm.
and it's Frank Lampard for me. Uh, Again, it's not just the goals either, but trophies won. He was a key part of that Chelsea side, especially when that. Remember that first title they won under Mourinho when I think they went to Bolton away. They were struggling, and he scored both goals to win them that first Premier League title. So Lampard for me, and again another player that it could be mentioned, but when you can't split them, you have to kind of look at, well, what did they do in the Premier League? What did they win? Gerrard's close, but he didn't win it, and he didn't win anything in the Premier League. So as good as Gerrard was, when I can't split it, I have to look at it and go, right, well, who achieved more? That's the only way I can split it. So that's why Lampard's in.
Well, Lampard was very, very close to me, but that goes back to my earlier point, mate, about the stats thing. I'm just thinking about the players that I've seen. Do you know what I mean? And stats is obviously really important, but if I was to go on stats, it'd have been Lampard. But I want to go on who I thought was a better footballer, mate, and it was Steven Gerrard, and that one absolutely kills me for obvious reasons. Um, but I have to say it, man. I was absolutely gutted when he became Rangers manager because I loved him growing up, man. Even though I was a Man United fan, Gerrard was just simply fantastic, man. I mean, he's technically amazing. The goals he scored in vital moments. The big one for me was the final, the FA Cup final against West Ham. You know, where he scores that goal for about 25 yards, man. I mean, there's no very many players on the planet, even to this day, that could have done that, mate. And that pressure and that goal, obviously, won the Champions League with Liverpool. So I have to put him in there, even though it fucking kills me.
No, no, honestly, mate, he deserves to be in there. I think you can only have so many. That's the problem. Like, I think all the ones we've mentioned all deserve to be in there. There's a couple of others that I toyed with because you look at the City teams. Yaya Toure was outstanding. There's so many that you could choose from, but obviously you've got to
Uh,
narrow it down. That's the only thing.
Central midfield was probably a difficult decision for me, mate, because you've got Patrick Vieira, you've got Rodri, you've got Fernandinho. You know, there's loads and loads you could have picked for there. You know what I mean? So that's. But we've picked our three, mate. Right, let's go for your attackers.
Right, so I've got, like I say, I've got two that could alternate. I'll go with on my left. I've got Henri on the left. I actually think he's the best player in Premier League history. The two that I've got that can drop either side, they are probably the two best Premier League players of all time, in my opinion. So Henri for me on the left.
On the left for me is Ryan Giggs, mate. Like I've mentioned to you before, probably my favourite player growing up. Just he made me fall in love with football, to be honest. Absolutely loved him. I've told you this before as well, that my uncles, I get two, I've got loads of uncles, right, but the two who I'm talking about, one's passed away, and one, if I seen him tomorrow, right, and I don't, it's not that I fell out with him or anything like that, or, family can just kind of go apart and stuff. If I seen him tomorrow, we'd go for a pint, but I guarantee you, Dan, he would call me Giggsy. That's what he would call me. Growing up, mate, that's what my uncles called me, Giggsy, because I just loved the guy so much. And even when I was an adult, I think I seen him about 2 years ago. He was like, "All right, Giggsy, how you doing, pal?" You know what I mean? And my cousins and that call me as well, mate. And it's like that's how much I loved Ryan Giggs, man. He was just phenomenal. That he's just his silky skill on the ball on the left hand side. He was anything that I'd ever seen before.
Yeah, like I say, I agree as well. I think uh, it depends because football's different. But I just think if you're doing 4-3-3, I couldn't
Mm.
justify having gigs in. But again, you can't argue. Again, can't argue with trophies won, stats, and things like that. But yeah, I just Henri edges it for me.
Okay, mate. Who's the next one?
So the other one, who I said is obviously up there with Henri, is the greatest Premier League player of all time, Wayne Rooney. Again, you could play him anywhere. You could drop him midfield if you wanted. You could put him at right back if you wanted. play him anywhere really, and he'd do a job for you. But in behind the striker, I think he's perfect for Rooney, or out wide, coming inside. Like I say, Man United's all-time top scorer when he left. He was England's all-time top scorer when he stopped playing for England. I know Kane's overtook him now, but longevity, ability, there was nothing he couldn't do. I think even now, if he put his boots on and got himself down Old Trafford, he'd probably still be one of the best players now if he wanted to do it. I know he's obviously put on a bit of timber since he retired, but he'd still be the best player there.
Well, without a doubt, mate. So is he on your right or is he your striker?
He's on the right. But
right.
again,
Well,
I mean, my striker's probably not going to move from where he is, so Rooney would have to be in behind or on the right.
well, I'm glad you've done that, mate, because that's who's on my right as well. I thought you might have been contesting that one. So, aye, Wayne Rooney on the right for me, mate. Unbelievable player, man. Just what can you even say? He burst on the scene. Was he 16 years old when he scored that goal against David Seaman against Arsenal?
Yeah.
David Seaman, by the way, that's another man we didn't mention earlier on. That he should have been in with a shout there as well. Was he in Carragher's top 10?
Yeah, he was in Carragher's top 10. Carragher's top 10. I'm trying to think. Carragher's top 10. It had like Neville Southall in it. Van der Sar was 6, which was mental to me. I don't know how he was 6, and he stood right next to Van der Sar when he was doing this list as well. I just didn't get that. But his list was a bit Liverpool biased, I would say, or Scouse biased.
Aye. I forgot about David Seaman. He'd be up there for no above Schmeichel, but he'd be up there high anyway. But Wayne Rooney just phenomenal for years and years and years. And what I loved most about Wayne Rooney, not only was he technically brilliant, not only was he just fantastic at football, his work rate was just exceptional. And the thing is, I was really surprised, the whole thing at Birmingham when Tom Brady came in and said that, the manager's a bit lazy and stuff like that. I couldn't believe that, man, because that can't be Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney is not a lazy guy. I think Tom Brady just thought that, I don't know what he just thought. He came over for American football and just thinks that everybody should be 100 mile an hour all the time. But Wayne Rooney was not a lazy player, man. So I can't imagine he's a lazy manager either. But he's on my right, mate. Who's your striker?
I really, really, really would love to put my United hat on and put someone like Cantona or Van Nistelrooy in, but I'm not going to have my United cap on, and I'm going to go neutral, and I've gone for Alan Shearer. All-time top scorer. Doesn't look like the record's ever going to be broken, really. I mean, Haaland, if he stays for the longevity of his career, he might break it. Well, he probably will at the rate he's going. He will break it, but it hasn't been broken for so long. Harry Kane was close. But yeah, Shearer scored so many different types of goals as well. Like, people think he was penalties and headers, but he was scoring 30-yard screamers, volleys, lobbing the keeper. Such a variety of goals, and probably the best out-and-out striker, I would say, the Premier League's had.
Hard to disagree, mate, but I have disagreed because I had to get gigs in. Because I would have went Henry as well, like on the left, but I went Henry up front because Henry is probably the best, attacker that I've seen in the English Premier League, mate, to be honest with you. I mean, phenomenal for Arsenal for a number of years, and some of the goals he scored were amazing, and but the thing is with these attackers, mate, I said centre mid was the hardest position to pick for, but strikers as well, mate. I mean, you've not even mentioned Aguero, Drogba. There's just a Harry Kane. There's just so many. There's been so many amazing strikers over the years in the Premier League. A lot of them at Man United, Van Nistelrooy, Cantona. Mate, we could go on and on all night about these players, man, but it has to be Thierry Henry for me. Last question, mate. Who's your captain in that team?
Roy Keane.
Roy Keane. I'm going to go Tony Adams for my captain, I think, because obviously, like I said earlier, he was an absolute leader back in the day, man. But mate, I think that's 2 hell of a teams we've picked there, man.
Yeah, like I say, there was some that I could have picked. Like I said, Gerrard was close, De Bruyne was close. The strikers, there was so many. But again, Shearer for me. But I think out of all of my players, I think Henry's the best player in that team. Him and Rooney, the 2 best players in that team, I would say.
Well, for me, I think in my team, he's also in your team. I think Pete Scholes, mate. Pete Scholes is my best player, I think, because, like I said, man, he's the closest thing I've seen to Zidane. And Zidane, for me, I think Zidane's probably, it's hard, mate, because I love Ronaldo as well, but Ronaldo's no on my team simply because he wasn't like he wasn't better than Giggs or like Rooney or Henry in the Premier League. You know what I mean? But for me, Ronaldo's probably the best player of all time, in my opinion. But it's between him, Messi, and Zidane for me.
Mm.
In my lifetime, anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you in terms of in my lifetime. I think Messi, Ronaldo, and then like you say, Zidane. I think R9, Ronaldinho, players like that. For me, if we're having the Messi Ronaldo debate, I think it's Messi for me. I, but again, it's a toss up really for people. It's a matter of opinion. I would never be harsh on anyone for saying Ronaldo's better than Messi. It's just pure opinion. The fact that we got to enjoy them both is a blessing in itself, really.
Absolutely, mate. That's a great note to end on, Dan boy. Thanks very much for coming on, mate. Thanks very much for your time. All the best for the future and all your podcasts and everything else that comes up, mate. And we'll speak soon.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.